wanna talk about anything else.
We don't wanna know.
We're dedicated, yes,
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Blurson and Blursball.
Futurama.
Good evening, everybody. This is the Radulich Broadcasting Network premier TV review show, TV Party Tonight. And tonight, our favorite shows are mostly wrestling shows. I spent all weekend watching wrestling. My eyes are burning. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me tonight are a cadre of wrestling professionals. Yes, wrestling experts. They know their wrestling. They once watched Hulk Hogan jump on Andre the Giant back in 1987, maybe. Those people are Jesse Starcher from the Source Material Podcast. How do you do, sir?
Oh, man, ready to talk some SummerSlam, buddy. I'm excited to be here. Excited.
It is my understanding that you sat glued to your television watching all the wrestling, the New Japan, the MLW, the Ring of Honor, the GCW. You watched it all this weekend, right?
Absolutely every single second missed by the... I mean, I watched every single second.
Now, here's a man who has no idea what the hell I'm talking about and doesn't know what any of those things are. Ladies and gentlemen, coming straight out of New York, how you doing, Chris Sheehan?
Hey, how are you? Yeah, those were a lot of letters. I don't know what that was all about. And I did want to offer one correction. Hulk Hogan jumped on the 950-pound Andre the Giant, and he died 5 minutes later.
Oh.
So that's the true story.
Yes.
He said it at least once while he was in between gigs as Metallica's bassist. So
yes.
It's all good.
But
yes, I know what those things are, those initials there, but I just don't follow it.
I understand. Look, not all of us can spend our entire lives watching wrestling. One weekend a month, and I was like, I don't ever want to watch wrestling again. If I see two more guys try to imitate a Looney Tunes cartoon and then get me kicked off Twitter, I'm done. Speaking of getting me kicked off Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Bailey, my new head of marketing. How you doing, sir?
Did you know that you could listen to this podcast on Podcoin and receive gifts? You can.
Oh, my
gosh.
God.
Now. It's true. It's true. I am the new head of marketing. I am over this branch. So this is what I do, folks, from here on in.
Perfect. We will actually have a spot from Podcoin later in the show. But first, I do quickly want to... We are talking about the Ring of Honor Summer Supercard. At least I will mention it in brief. Or in briefs, whichever you like. We're going to talk somewhat extensively about the NXT Toronto Takeover, featuring Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck falling off a cage wrapped in barbed wire into a tiny glass of water. Ugh.
Oh, no. Now you're kicked off Podcoin.
God damn it. Stop kicking me off of social media. It's like a 100-year-old cartoon. So, yes, we will talk about NXT TakeOver, and then we'll end the show giving our thoughts on the SummerSlam, which actually ended a half an hour early. Everyone was like, who's going to possibly run in now? The Money in the Bank's already cashed in, and then we were all watched this amazement as nothing happened.
Nothing happened, yep.
I was waiting for Roman's murderer to be revealed, but it didn't happen, alas.
I felt like Roman was actually going to come out and be like, it was me, Seth, it was me the whole time, and Seth would just look at him quizzically. Be like, no, I tried to kill myself. See, this was all a setup to confuse you.
I bet it was whoever was holding the camera that was facing Roman when the thing fell on him.
Whoa!
It was probably that guy.
Wait a minute, you're trying to bring logic. You're trying to bring logic into the argument, Sheehan.
There's a cameraman. Well, no, I can see a story behind this. There's a cameraman that works at the WWE who hasn't seen his parents since Carter was in his children rather, and his wife since Carter was in the White House, and he's just like, you know what? Fuck this place. I'm gonna start killing wrestlers. Start with you fat Samoan. Go back to movies produced by The Rock. Anyway. All right. So just a real quick rundown of the Ring of Honor Summer Supercard, which was this past Friday night, August 9th, in also Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the Matami. Chris, help me out here.
Athletics. Which Chris?
The Canadian Chris.
The Canadian Chris.
Even I don't know where in the blue hell that is, Mark.
I don't know. I thought they were. Honestly, I thought this was held in the same place they shoot MLW TV, the same airport hangar. I don't know where. I don't know what this was.
It's some part of Canada not even Canadians speak of.
Yeah, the Mattamy Athletic Center. That's what we're going with. So it went down like this. Villain Enterprises, PCO and Brody King defeated The Kingdom, TKO Ryan, and Vinny Marseglia. It was fine. PCO's cool. I watched him. Pat schooled me on how cool PCO is when we were at the New York show. Marty Scurll defeated PJ Black.
What a shock.
Yeah, PJ Black may need to find a new career soon. Kelly Klein defeated Tasha Steeles. What she steals, I have no idea.
Worst women's roster in wrestling.
Yeah.
ROH. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Lifeblood, Bandito and Mark Haskins defeated Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham by submission in a regular tag match. Wow, how far has Jay Lethal fallen, right? He used to be
Black Machismo, bring back Black Machismo, for Christ's sakes.
He was the Ring of Honor champion for like a million years for a while, and now he's doing tag matches with Lifeblood. Rush defeated Dalton Castle. Rush.
Yeah.
Dalton Castle. Have you ever seen this guy wrestle?
Yes, I have numerous times.
I've seen him wrestle actually a couple of matches down here at the local wrestling, and he's always put on a great show.
Why does he wear bikini trunks up to his nipples?
Oh my gosh! I wish you could have been here when he was wrestling a match and Grado came out. And they had a dance-off. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, really? Orange Cassidy fan? Thanks. Terrific.
Here to provide in-depth criticism. I loved it.
I am the John Lithgow in Footloose of wrestling. There'll be no dancing here. God damn it. Rush versus Dalton Castle is probably one of the first matches on here that I can actually remember enjoying. Like, I watched the first 4 of these matches, and I'm like, yeah, these all seem like wrestling matches. I'm not that familiar with all these people. I honestly tuned into this event for my new favorite wrestler, Matt Taven. More on him in a second. But this Rush Dalton Castle was a fun little Donnybrook around the garage that they wrestled in. Shane Taylor, who is the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, defeated Tracy Williams. There was a lucha match. Go ahead.
I do not like Shane Taylor. I just don't get it. I don't know. He's got a horrible look for a wrestler. I don't know. He's a big dude. Yeah, that's cool. But man, I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly don't even remember much about this match. There was a trios match featuring a bunch of luchadors. Again, here's the whole reason I tuned into this. Matt Taven wrestled Alex Shelley, who I remember being in the Motor City Machine Guns. Even before that, I enjoyed Alex Shelley's stuff where he would bring the camcorder.
The Paparazzi Productions or whatever?
Yeah, he would bring the camcorder down to ringside. And I'm like, he was one of the first guys in TNA when I was first watching it that I was like, oh, this guy has a pretty fun gimmick. He like tapes himself wrestling. He's got this cocky attitude. Like, I like Alex Shelley. That was 100 years ago. And he's apparently coming out of retirement or something to wrestle Matt Taven. And, they had a match. It was fine. People seem to have X-Pac hate for Matt Taven, so I ironically love him and think he's the best thing ever.
Oh, he most certainly is not. This is like your dollar store Ric Flair, man. This is like when Buddy Landel showed up into WWE as the original Nature Boy. No good, my friend.
Here's the thing. I think Matt Taven needs to go talk to MJF in EC3, and they need to have like a gimmick makeover for Matt Taven. Like, if you're going to be this kind of, this douchebag, don't come to the ring in a cape. You're not a superhero. You're not the Hurricane. Cut it out.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, as much as I like the guy, and this match was fine, they both put on a good wrestling match. His look needs some updating. And finally, the Briscoe brothers attempted to murder the Gorillas of Destiny.
I love the Briscoes. I wish I could have watched the match. Damn.
One of the Briscoes got a cut that I feel like he lost just gallons of blood in this match. This made the Cody Dustin match look like a goddamn paper cut. It was pretty gross.
Boy. Wow. Now I got to see it.
Yeah, the Briscoe Gorillas of Destiny was, if you like violence, oof. This was, this deserved to be the main event. It definitely, nothing was going to top this. More on that in a second. Nothing was going to top this on this show. This was the most violent, bloody, neckbeard, fucking loving wrestling match of the night, and it deserved to be the main event. So,
well, who went over?
The Briscoe brothers.
Okay.
How are the Briscoe brothers not in the WWE? Someone tell me that. Like how, or even on AEW?
Social media,
How?
right?
Because
it's social media.
Oh well, yeah, that doesn't help. I guess.
Because they look like the Bushwhackers on crack.
They have more teeth collectively than the Bushwhackers.
I want to recount. I don't know. I've always liked the Briscoes, and man, as much Ring of Honor as I used to watch, I'm glad to see them still around. I would love to see them have the opportunity to go and at least try and make a mark in WWE, but it's just like they are, I don't know, it seems like they're perfectly happy being at Ring of Honor, and maybe it's one of those things where they're just like, okay, well, you know what, we really are, we'll just spin our wheels here, we're having a good time. I don't know.
Can someone tell me what happened to Ring of Honor? Because I remember there was a point where only the cool kids watched Ring of Honor, and now I'm the only person watching Ring of Honor. I feel like I'm Vince McMahon. I'm just like late to the party. I have no idea what's going on in the world. I ask people who watch like all the wrestling. They watch GCW shows. They watch PWG. They watch all this indie shit. And I'm like, oh, you guys gonna watch Ring of Honor? And they like stuck their nose up at me. They're like, ew. Ring of Honor.
No, I tell you what happened to Ring of Honor. It had the TNA effect. So when Hogan and Bischoff came to TNA and they pumped it up and they threw like $1 billion into that company and they ruined it by going on the road and putting themselves on Monday night opposite Raw. Well, you know what? Bullet Club showed up in Ring of Honor. And I think it drove a few buys for them. They had some big pay-per-views. They had people tuning in. Even New Japan, was starting to turn $1. And then all of a sudden, the ass fell out of it. Everybody left at once, literally.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was a lot of exits.
It was a mass exodus, and all of a sudden you were left with Black Machismo and Matt Taven sitting holding the bag with Shane Taylor.
So which
and the Briscoes, who no one will hire.
Which iteration of the Bullet Club was this?
This was the Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega.
Oh, that version. Okay. The version.
Speaking of sticking their noses up and stuff,
the version that evolved into All Elite Wrestling. Ugh. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. They gave him. Yeah, they gave him the. Ring of Honor gave them the platform, and they took it and pretty well danced on their grave, really.
Hey, Cody, we'd like you to come in and prop up Ring of Honor. How about if I just stick a shit on it? I'm not going to tell you how to do your art, sir. Okay, well, that explains to me why the cool kids no longer like Ring of Honor. But, hey, I enjoyed the show in New York. It was a night of wrestling. We just had moved back into the house from my in-laws, so it was a nice kind of homecoming for me to kind of sit and watch some wrestling I hadn't seen before. It was fine. I know the rest of you guys didn't watch it, but I hope Ring of Honor turns a corner and doesn't end up being like bought out by the WWE or something like that, or doesn't become completely irrelevant like TNA had. Because I hear TNA's got some awesome wrestling that nobody sees unless you go, find it somewhere in a basement behind a door, behind the sign.
They're still trading tapes.
Beware the Jaguar.
They're the only ones left on RF video.
Yes, my understanding is the only way to get TNA TV now is to stand on top of your house with rabbit ears.
It's available on every streaming service except the popular ones.
Sorry, so let's move to something that most of us saw here. NXT TakeOver Toronto 2019, which was headlined by Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Each would have some sort of stipulation. The first was first fall was a regular wrestling match. Second was a street fight. Somebody made the suggestion that if you're going to do a street fight, they should have made them put jeans on, which I thought was pretty funny. Mid match.
One guy's got half his jeans up, the other guy's got them all the way up, and he just starts beating them.
Rolls them up into a small package.
If Cody Rhodes was booking this, he would have had him in jeans and cowboy boots like his daddy.
Yes, but they would have had like tearaway trunks so that you could see the jeans underneath. All right, and then the third fall. We'll talk about this towards the end here, but that third fall was a cage match with weapons around it, a la the Elimination
Ambrose
Chamber,
Asylum, or
the Elimination Chamber from the only ECW WWE pay-per-view, December to Dismember, and barbed wire around the top of it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Shayna Baszler versus Mia Yim, Velveteen Dream versus Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong for the North American title, Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, the Street Profits versus the Undisputed Era. And then
How was that match?
Well, let's talk about it. So the Street Profits, who were your tag team NXT champions and your minstrels on Monday Night Raw. Ugh. Sorry, have you been...
That's like the perfect way to describe their act on Raw is just, oh boy, it's something else.
they go from like 100-foot vertical leaps on NXT to we want the smoke and there's too much drip on Raw.
Wow.
There it is.
Wow.
I think I tweeted out, please, Montez Ford, dear sir, please stick to vertical leaps, thanks. Versus the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. I'll go over to you first, Chris Bailey. What did you think of this tag team match?
Canada's own Kyle O'Reilly. Let's get this straight here. So this pay-per-view is in my home country of Canada. God damn it!
You're Canadian?
I am indeed.
Oh, okay.
Home of the fucking Alpha Flight. All right. But anyway, you know what? I kind of dug this match, to be quite honest with you. I'm unlike you guys, I guess, fans of the Street Profits. You know, I wouldn't mind being in the crowd when they were hobnobbing with their cups and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I was at home being miserable without my cup. But no, I'll tell you what. Dawkins, to me, and I brought this up on one of our last discussions on NXT, he's sort of just hanging around and letting Montez Ford do all the work, and you really got to see some really great tag team work from O'Reilly and Fish. I mean, they are similar to, you know, when it comes to tag team work, they used to be ROH's strongest team, speaking of ROH. But, of course, they left as well, and now they're right here. As the Undisputed Era, and it was a great match. And I want to tell you, probably the best frog splash ever given in a tag team match was done by Montez Ford at the end of this one. This was unbelievable. The height, I don't know. I thought it was a really good start to the show. It was a hot crowd for the Street Profits, and I know you guys don't get it, but they're pretty popular here in Canada, man.
Look, don't get it twisted. I enjoy the Street Profits. I think they're a hell of a wrestling. I think they're a hell of a tag team. I just like their gimmick when they're not talking is fine. They're like girls. They're very pretty. I just don't need them to talk. They talk. I stop listening. I don't understand what they're saying. It's a shit show. But, you know, look, I'm all about, like, hey, here's a party tag team. They come out and everyone throws cups in the air. I had to explain to my daughter the significance of a red Solo cup, so that's fun.
Oh boy.
She could take that with her to third grade. But, yeah, they just seem to have a match, though. Like they're never bad matches, but I think when I think back to, like, the NXT, that's the problem. This is kind of in the shadow of the last two NXT events, which both had, I think, better matches featuring these guys. So, like, this one was like, you know, unlike something we're going to talk about later, that they didn't really try to top themselves. They just kind of had a match. And I was more thinking about, I can't wait for them to move on from this and have a match with, like, the Revival. Because the Revival are, like, an awesome tag team specialist group. These guys work really, really well together. I would love to see them have, like a Rocker's Heart Foundation kind of a match, you know, where everybody works so well and everybody's so smooth. What do you think, Sheehan?
I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys both just said. I think this was a really good start to the show. I was hoping it would go the other way. I was hoping the Undisputed Era would take it. Especially, I hate it when they do the thing where they've got champions from one show on another. Because, I mean, like we mentioned, the Profits are on Raw and SmackDown now, with one of them saying "fam" 500 times and the other one with his eyes bugging out of his head every time the camera's on him. But I wanted them to take the belts off of him, put him on a team that's a fantastic team, very impressive. I really did like that frog splash. That was a thing of beauty there. But once they start talking, just like you said, it's just okay, done. Move along.
Nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, because it's just this pandering fam crap, and other dude with his eyes bugging out.
Montez Ford is Jazz from The Fresh Prince, by the way. You know it's true. You know it's true. He became a wrestler after that show.
There you go.
Angela Dawkins also, like, you know, the WWE is highly scripted. So, you know, I'm sure amongst the yammering gibberish of their promos, he's still given things he has to say. So while Montez Ford is just doing the gimmick, he used to go and, yeah, drip, fucking smoke, solo cups, yeah. Angelo Dawkins has to then make sense of that, and he's given a script to do so, and he's so awkward. You know,
yeah.
Like NXT, they're clearly just like, here's a microphone, go out and say something entertaining for the fans, and they're like, wow, why, whoopee, you know, and people are like, yay, we love it. That's
it's
fine.
an easy crowd, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, look, these are the same people who got like Fandango and Adam Rose over during that whole shit show. So, you know, it's a small crowd, people get into it, it's all good. Then he comes on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, and he has to follow a script, and it's like, oh, buddy. Like, so acting's not your thing, clearly. Jesse, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know,
Chris.
one thing that's really crappy about this whole thing with the Street Profits, I think they gave them the belts the wrong way, man. Like, War Machine was on the way out the door, and they basically gave up the titles, and you know, they just sort of ended up on the Street Profits. It makes them look bad, man. All of a sudden, Street Profits are indestructible, like they're beating, you know, O'Reilly and Jesus, Fish. They're beating O'Reilly and Fish, no problem. You know what I mean? Before, they were just an act that you'd see in the background. Really, you know, they weren't even a contender.
They were like
Suddenly,
Public Enemy.
now they're tag team champions, and they can't be beaten, really. So, you know, I don't know. I think they really went about this the wrong way, giving these guys the belts. I don't know. They should have gave them some sort of a build. They just appeared out of nowhere on the screen, suddenly out of nowhere, and then they were tag team champions. It just, you know, I don't know. And then they're on Raw, for God's sake. Their push is just the weirdest thing.
Promoted right away. Yep.
Apollo Crews has to be looking at them going, what have they got that I ain't got? And then I shouted, personality, pal.
Yes,
Send Apollo Crews back to NXT to learn how to get a personality. Speaking of which, Iro Shirai, Candice LeRae. Jesse, did you have anything to add to that before we move on?
No, I remember being impressed with the Street Profits when we watched, when I had the chance to watch the NXT for WrestleMania, whichever one that was, and I also like Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. I thought for sure this would probably be one hell of a match. So, I mean, were you entertained at least, or was it the talking that took you out, or what? I mean, it was a fine enough match, right?
No, absolutely. Like I said, the match itself was fine. Them on NXT is pretty much fine. It's when they go over to Raw and they're not allowed to wrestle, but it's like, here, you, Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, go ahead and talk. And it's like, ugh, this is terrible.
Okay. Well, at least I'm glad that the match was decent. I was just watching a GIF here with, I think, who was it there? Montez. Montez and Angelo here. And they hit a blockbuster on, I think it's O'Reilly. Anyway, yeah, didn't look too fun. I can tell you that much. I can't tell if that's Fish or O'Reilly, but anyway. Well, I'm glad it opened the show, huh?
Yeah, it'll open the broadcasted portion. There were 2 dark matches, but
okay.
Let me before we move on, I absolutely was calling for a sweep by the Undisputed Era. And it did not get off to the right foot. And then my friend wrote me back. He was like, "You know what they're going to do? It's going to be the Undisputed Era versus Gargano, Dream, and the Street Profits, winner take all." and then the Undisputed are going to be just covered in gold. So if they do that, that's fine. I'll dig it, but we'll see. And they'll do that at War Games. Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae. This one was about basically Io Shirai turned heel, beat the shit out of Candice after Candice kept saving her from Shayna Baszler's goons. And everyone's saying, like, this is, as far as the women go, maybe as far as the entire pay-per-view, short of the, Bugs and Daffy routine at the end, this is the best match of the night. And, different strokes for different folks. I thought it was a great match. I thought Io Shirai has great facial reactions to things. I thought Candice LeRae finally got herself a personality other than she's blonde. I thought this was really good. And this is another, now Io Shirai has sort of drifted into that category of, I hope Vince dies before she gets called up, because she'll be thrown in, somebody suggested they'll throw her into the Kabuki Warriors and rename them the Four Horse Joshis. Like, all right, cool, I guess. I just leave her alone. Let some people be on NXT, especially going into the fall where they're going to be on Fox, and I think NXT is going to get a broadcast time. So I'll switch over to you, Sheehan. What'd you think of Io Shirai and her faces versus Candice LeRae and her hair?
I thought it was a really good match. I don't know that I'd call it the best of the night, but it was definitely, because that tag match was so high energy, and I was kind of worried about whatever was going to follow it. But Io and what's her face, Candice, really put out on a good show. I'm glad it ended the way it did. It's the only way I think it could have ended. And you're right on with Shirai's faces. You could really tell the frustration. Candice was doing the plucky, baby face thing, not staying down, kicking out. I think she was the first one to kick out of the moonsault. I think that's what Moro Mamma Mia about. But it was a hell of a match, and she put her in that like weird. What kind of clutch was that with her like wrapped in her leg?
Clutch.
That was the Koji clutch. That was awesome. I thought that was a lot of fun, and just a hell of a match. Just really. Which I didn't expect from Candice. I haven't seen much out of Candice, and I wasn't expecting her to be able to measure up to Io, but they both did a great job.
Go ahead, Bailey.
Candice LeRae. Let's start there. This girl has no presence at all, but the girl can wrestle. You can tell that they pay for their own ring gear, because clearly she spent $5 on her ring gear coming out, or Gargano shot his load on his weapon NXT suit that we'll see a little bit later. but poor old Candice LeRae came out dressed in drabs as she did. Now, you talked about Io Shirai and how she's got the new heel gimmick, and oh my goodness, she's crazy. Okay, now. Really, when I look between the layers of this, the girl can't talk. So I think what they've done here is, Io, you can't talk, so just go out and be crazy. Just go, oh, you're crazy, you're crazy. You go out and just shake your head and go, and nobody will care. They won't ask you to speak. So I think that's the true reason that Io Shirai is a crazy lady. I will say her new look is great. She spent a bit of money on her ring gear, so she came out looking really good. And they did have one heck of a match. I mean, technically sound. I mean, superplexes, you had brain busters, you had everything, and even the Koji clutch ending came out of nowhere. I mean, You'd think it would be in the era of the super kick or the knee strike that was the way this match was going to end. No, they tap people out, and actually, you'd actually get to see this finish later on again in one of the other matches, which is really strange. But I really dug the match. It definitely wasn't match of the night. I'd say it was number 2, but really strong match. And get Candice LeRae some gear. Someone give her some money.
I feel like she found like the old Bull Nakano wrestling gear somewhere in a corner that somebody forgotten about. Just
grab some scissors.
Just kind of cut it up for her.
Maybe Io gave it to her. Oh, you'll take gear. I'm crazy.
Io Shirai's gimmick is go home and watch a whole bunch of like Bruce Lee movies and just do that. I don't need nobody.
She needs to be the girl from The Ring, that with the hair down and all crazy and shit.
Jeez.
There's two things. You were goofing on Candice LeRae's gear, which she got from Hot Topic on sale. But my daughter, she
That is some justice shit. That ain't Hot Topic. That's straight up out of Justice, sir.
you're right. I take it back. You are absolutely right. But I tell you what, when Ming the Merciless and Candice LeRae came down to the ring, my daughter, first words out of her mouth were, "I like both their fashion." I'm like, all right, cool. So the 8-year-old thought they both were well dressed.
Fashionable.
There you go.
Jesse, anything?
No.
Velveteen Dream, and with this time pants that fit.
Wait, we had our little Riddle Dane deal here.
Oh, you're right. You know what? It's not in the list, so I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle came out, was like, nah, bro.
I thought it was Vince Russo for a second.
Bro, nah.
Is he not wearing shoes still? The dude's still not wearing shoes.
Oh, look, I can
Not
watch
in the ring.
I could watch Matt Riddle kick his slippers off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is some shit that he does. But yeah, he called out Killian Dane. They had a brawl. Killian Dane got the best of him again. Sheehan, was there something that you had a burning desire to talk about with this?
I just thought it was pretty great. I had a lot of fun with this bit. I wasn't expecting it, and I saw online a lot of people kind of shit on it. I don't know why, but it sets up a match, and what better way to do that than have two guys beat the shit out of each other? And it's better than them just talking on a microphone. But online, it got a lot of crap, so I don't know.
I would have preferred them do like a last man standing match between Riddle and Killian Dane, and maybe not do 45 minutes of Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano again.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Could we maybe cut down the times of some of these matches and just given Riddle and Dane just a match?
Sure.
10 minutes of a last man standing match, let them beat the fuck out of each other. And let's move this along. But nope, instead we got a gimmick instead of a match. But yes, Velveteen Dream came out as the Mountie.
Oh, no. I got to speak about this. No. Nah, bro. The Mounties theme music. So they have a whole bunch of dancers come out dressed in Mountie gear, which is, everybody knows that Mounties still exist in that particular thing, all the time. They're everywhere in Canada. No, they're not, guys. They're not. It's ceremonial. So then to make matters worse, then they tear off the Mountie gear to reveal Toronto Raptors gear to a whole bunch of cheers. Oh, this was so pandering. I wanted to puke. He's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. He's gonna. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. I get it. I get what you were saying. I thought it was hilarious. I like a good over the top entrance. And Velveteen Dream doing that, hey, I remember the 80s, early 90s thing cracks me up.
Jacques Rougeau come out. Come on, where's Jacques Rougeau?
Raymond's doing a commentary, so they could have put him out.
That's right.
Where's the brother?
Yeah, he actually needed to come out and just yell on Velveteen Street, just going, "I'm the Mountie," and then fuck off. And then so he wrestled Pete Dunne, after having lost to Walter over there in the UK NXT, and Roderick Strong for the 800th time. The one super positive thing I have to say about this match, because this again was not as good as the previous Velveteen Dream matches, the last couple that we saw, was at least his pants fit well. The tailor,
there you go.
The tailor finally got to him, or he ate a sandwich. I don't know what happened here, but finally he had some normal fitting pants, so that wasn't distracting. Pete Dunne's fine. Like, everyone keeps telling me that, like, I need to be watching, the Pete Dunne Walter match at the New York NXT is like the greatest thing ever, and I should have been watching NXT UK the whole time Pete Dunne was champion, and I'm like, he's fine. I'm pretty.
He goes overboard with that finger breaking thing.
Oh,
he
God,
does that
he
way too much.
Okay,
Jeez.
good. I'm not the only one who thinks so.
No. Every single time a hand is around, he's pulling on it. It's too much.
He's like at the buffet line. Someone goes for the biscuits. He just breaks their hand.
Snap. Yep.
You know who I am, right?
I'll break your fingers.
All right, so we're all in agreement. This was not like the world's greatest match. Like, it was here's the thing. Of all the wrestling I saw this weekend, this one was fine. It just wasn't as good, or it wasn't as good as we would hope for an NXT triple threat. nor was it as good as the last couple of matches involving one or more of the Velveteen Dream or Roderick Strong. Don't you think, Sheehan?
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. I look at this match and, growing up when you play with different sets of action figures, and like they were all different sizes and stuff, when you put Pete Dunne in a match, it looks like you've got like an off-brand action figure with your other action figures. He's just so oddly shaped. I mean, he looks like kind of like a potato. He's just very oddly shaped.
He's from Remco. He's from Remco.
We've got a triple threat involving He-Man, Snake Eyes, and Mr. Potato. Fantastic.
That's it. And but it just looks like it doesn't fit. It's like I'm watching special effects or something. But it just that the damn hand gimmick. It's too much because it's not even something they build to. It's just the first thing that they do. And even when this match started, like he went right for Roddy's hand, and Roddy pulled it away. It's like, okay, we're doing that right away.
Yeah.
Let's build to it. Let's get like some actual wrestling in before you start snapping off fingers.
Yeah, if that's going to be your signature, I mean,
exactly.
wait a few.
Speaking of snapping, wait till we get to Bray Wyatt later in the podcast.
Oh, that's a goodie. I was hoping, like you mentioned, I was hoping this was going to be a sweep for the Undisputed Era. I thought that this would have been a clever way to get the belt off of Dream without having him eat a pin, but they didn't go that way. I was hoping. Roddy's really been surprising me of late. I think he's really been bringing it and up in his game. I had a lot of fun with they did like the double Boston Crab. I thought was pretty cool. That thing where Roderick was running back and forth and like forearming the guys like back and forth and back and forth. I thought that was pretty cool. But it just didn't end the way I thought it would have been best to, because I don't know what you do with Dream from here. Just like we mentioned with the Street Profits, like he's kind of unbeatable. He's at a point now where they got to find someone to beat him, and I thought this would be a nice, easy way out of that kind of a mess.
I feel like this whole fight, this whole card was just a placeholder till they get to War Games.
It's a time killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, well, we have to have an NXT card for SummerSlam weekend. We've rented the place for the entire month of August, so I exaggerate a lot.
Not by much.
So it's just like let's just not make any big moves. Let's not crown anybody and and then have Vince pay attention to them, because then they'll get called up to fucking the main roster. That seems to be the kiss of death for you. It's like you win a title, immediately get called up, and then do nothing. Unless you're Ricochet, they do nothing with you. So, anything, Bailey, triple threat.
Yeah. So you know what? I think this shows a little bit of a dent in the armor of the NXT formula, especially when you put together the three-way. You look at the guys who were involved. I had no reason to think that Dream was going to lose the belt in this one. Roddy, I mean, he's Roddy. He's not winning nothing. You got Pete Dunne, who looks like a Remco toy, like a potato, like you said, who's breaking fingers. But I don't know. Neither one of those guys were ready to take the belt off Dream. He's just not the guy. And the only point that I'll make, I mean, solid match. I mean, let's face it. It's your basic NXT Takeover three-way. Let's be honest. It's the same formula over and over and over. But someone needs to take Dream aside and show him how to drop that elbow, man. Randy Savage must be up in heaven going, brother, ain't no good right there. He sort of got this little slip that he does. Like, he doesn't go all the way with it. He gets the air, and when he lands, he tries to stand up and then fall. I don't know what it is. It's a really strange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just take a look how this elbow. Randy Savage, when he hit the elbow, he flew off, and man, he dropped that shit.
Yeah.
But Dream sort of leaps.
The elbow was pronounced. When Macho Man did it, the elbow was very pronounced, and it looked like he was hitting you with his elbow. When Dream does it, he looks like he's posing for Playgirl, and just landing that way.
Yeah, he doesn't go all the way with it. He's sort of like he tries to stand on one leg and then sort of fall over. I think that I don't know. I just don't dig it. I don't know what it is. Take a look at his elbows, and trust me, you'll understand. That's all I got to say about that.
Just because I don't want you to feel like I forgot you. Do you have anything you want to add to about any of these guys? Jesse?
I'm curious as to whether any of the kids had questions about the sexual orientation of Velveteen Dream again this time.
They were both in bed.
Okay, all right, well then.
I think this was his manliest performance.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
He came out last time. He was confusing my kids, if I remember correctly. So I think Mark's kids were having the same issue. But
Daddy, what does gender fluid mean?
let's watch wrestling.
All right. Speaking of gender fluid, Shayna Baszler defeated Maya Yim.
Segue.
Ugly woman. Ugly woman.
Oh, leave my Shayna Baszler alone. I feel like much like I was the only one who watched Ring of Honor this week, and I feel like I was the only one who actually liked this match. Here's the thing, and I was trying to make this clear with some of the guys that I'm in a wrestling chat with. When every match is everybody doing flippity doos and everybody going like, I am trying to be Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, at WrestleMania. Everyone's trying to steal the show. There's Shayna Baszler in her last couple of matches where she's just having a wrestling match, telling a story, using psychology. There's not a zillion kickouts. There's not a random series of finishers that don't tell you any kind of a story. Like, Shayna Baszler is the classic superstars of wrestling wrestler. Picks a body part, she works it, and she works towards that choke. And sometimes this works better than others. I guess for a lot of people it didn't work with Maya Yim, who may have shown that she was something during the Mae Young Classic, but apparently got herself blowed up on this card. Like, ran out of gas real early. I'm not entirely sure what happened with her here. Maybe, bright lights, big city, she's just, not ready for it. Who knows? Either way, I really liked this match. I guess it wasn't a technical masterpiece, but but for God's sakes, after all the wrestling I saw this weekend and some of the Looney Tunes shit that happened, at least these two, I thought, told a solid wrestling story.
Hang on, man. Absolutely agree.
I assume it was, Shayna Baszler being in this match. I remember the last one we watched, she kept things grounded. I remember, just like you said, she was focusing on the arm, or she was always using some crazy ass submission. Right. And that is exactly what we need from this from this wrestler.
Right. But apparently, if you're not diving off the scaffold, you suck.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
-5 stars.
My one complaint about this is that Shayna Baszler was the wrestler that was always in trouble. She was. Maya Yim, and I can't remember what it was she was doing exactly, but Maya Yim kept doing this one thing to her, and she was working an arm is what she was doing. So she kept putting Shayna Baszler's arm in trouble, so she wouldn't be able to get the choke, which was fine. And I said I like the psychology, except that's kind of the reverse of the way you do things. Normally, you put the babyface in danger, and it's the heel that's working a body part, and the babyface fights from underneath, and gets the win. In this case, they did it with the heel, which, she's the one that ended up winning. But that only works if your challenger really looks like she's unbeatable. Like, that works if it's Andre the Giant or Earthquake or, monsters. Giant Gonzalez, The Undertaker, you know what I'm talking about. The Yeti.
Yeah,
Yeti.
But no, big monster types or vicious types, that I think then if you want to put the heel in trouble because the person that they're wrestling is such an enormous imposing figure, okay, then I get it. Maya Yim looked like she got off the bus at 125th Street and she walked over across the border to Toronto, and who the fuck is she impressing? Like, I don't understand what the attraction here was or how she got this shot. Was Bianca Belair sick? Like what happened here?
Have you been watching the weekly show?
I watched the last one before the Takeover, so I guess you'll tell me what's happened here.
I can fill you in a little bit, because Maya Yim has been just beating up Shayna's seconds. Yeah. She cornered one in a locker room and slammed a car door on the other one to even the odds or whatever. And I think Bianca lost a match to Mia Yim earlier in the month. I didn't see the match, but I think that's what happened, and that's how she got the shot this time. But I kind of liked the inversion her acting heelish, because it's kind of like a if you can't beat them, join them sort of a thing, because Shayna has been just painted as unbeatable. And Shayna, God bless her, she's just awesome. When they kicked the stairs into her arm, she sold that damn arm the whole match.
Yeah.
You can't get like 20-year veterans of pro wrestling to sell a limb.
I feel like if Shayna Baszler looked like Alexa Bliss, everybody would love her.
She'd be a 25-time champion already.
Yeah, exactly. But but unfortunately, she looks like a cracked mirror. So she doesn't get that. But I'm not even saying like normally in one of these rants, I'm like, oh, Vince hates her because she doesn't have big boobs and blonde hair and she isn't pretty. So immediately Vince is going to be like, nope. But I'm actually on this one. I'm mad at like the Twitterverse. I'm mad at like wrestling fans because everybody like gives her shit and doesn't give her the credit she deserves. She's one of the best female wrestlers I've seen in quite some time. She's better than fucking Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Wait till I rant on that later. Holy cow! I'm irritated with Becky Lynch.
Shayna is so underrated online. She's just a perfect monster heel, and she gets. You mentioned psychology a few times. She gets the psychology, which these flippity floppity guys in NXT and a lot of the veterans up in the up on the big show just don't get the psychology and the consequences of maneuvers, where, like I said, she sold that damn arm the entire match. Every time she went for that clutch, she recoiled because the arm hurt. And I just thought that was like magic, because you just don't ever see that. I mean, we've got Johnny Gargano, he was dropped from an airplane and then was shot with a cannon. 5 seconds later, he's tap dancing. He's fine. Where, I mean, she gets her arm stomped and you can feel it. You can feel it the whole match. She is playing with that arm. She's trying to work whatever knot out of that arm she can. And if Mia Yim wasn't like a half second behind this entire match, I think this would have been a all-time great match of the year. For the year, not of the year. But I think this would have been one of those matches we'd be talking about for some time if Mia wasn't just off by like a half second.
Shayna Baszler is better than every single female wrestler on the entire main roster, with the exception of Asuka.
I co-sign that, yeah.
And it's look, I make a lot of jokes on here. I make a lot of inappropriate jokes, right, Chris Bailey?
Here we go again.
You're banned from the show.
He's going to be kicked off the Radulich Broadcasting Network.
But that's the thing. They're just jokes, and I don't want to get on like my high horse here, or pedestal, or whatever, but it really does make me angry, because I really do feel like Shayna Baszler suffers because of her looks, and it's not fair, because she's so much better. I mean, if you look at who they called up, right? Like Ruby Riot's not particularly attractive either, but they needed somebody for Rousey to beat 100 times, and for everybody else in that roster to beat. And they had to call up a few flunkies, so they called up a pretty one, and they called up an average-looking girl. It's like, you look at all the people they called up, it's like, you're pretty, you can stay in NXT. She's the best fucking one! Life's not fair, that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna wave this flag until she gets on the main roster and beats everybody, including Roman Reigns.
Listen, there have been some pretty ugly women on Raw and on SmackDown before. It's been a while, but they've been there. So there may be a chance at some point. I could name a couple right off the top of my head, starting with China was not the prettiest lady for quite a while.
We have to go back to the 90s to fucking justify this? And even China got her chin fucking hit with a hammer and got big boobs and everything. It's like, hey, you're pretty again. Here, have a push. Here's the Intercontinental title. We made it. We gave you. We shined it up for you.
Nicole Bass.
Okay.
Tapping out.
Argument losing credibility.
What's the next match?
Bailey, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, so I think this match, I think they sort of lost the crowd on this one. I think after all the flippity doos and the flippity doos and the googly wooglies, I think the crowd was still begging for more, and all they were giving them were arm bars, and I think you had a bit of a mix of styles. You got Mia Yim, who's a little bit of a TNA high flyer, which I like to call her. You know, the basic move set of, you know, the topes and the Frankensteiner off the ropes, and just your dumb TNA type of wrestling. And Shayna Baszler kept it grounded, you know what I mean? Which is good, and I agree with your analysis, man. She's got a different working psychology. She's got a different, unique look. I think the girl is money, and I think the crowd didn't give this match a chance. It was a lot better than the crowd gave it a response for sure. So I enjoyed it.
I feel like Toronto kept waiting for Joey Janela to fall out of the sky onto his head.
I agree.
And it's like it just never really happened like that until like the very end. And so I think this match does better in a different city, but there's something about that crowd that was like, we want the circus, you know. And Shayna Baszler kind of came out and gave him a piano solo. It was beautiful, and they were like, we don't like no pianos. Fall off something, all right. Just a rough crowd, man.
Truth.
Oh God, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano. First of all, enough with the Marvel superhero costumes already. Between him, just comics in general. Yeah, Seth Rollins, Ricochet, him. Enough already. Come out in normal wrestling gear, you losers.
Okay, so I wasn't wrong when I saw Ricochet looking like Nightwing, but with
no,
the
sir, he was full on Nightwing.
All right,
and Gargano came out in the original Wolverine colors, so the yellow and blue.
A suicidal Wolverine, apparently.
Yes, he was Weapon NXT. That's what they dubbed this costume.
Oh, okay. I was going with Johnny Snicked.
Love it.
So yeah, Adam Cole defeated Johnny Gargano 2 out of 3 falls. Okay, if I remember correctly, now stay with me here. Jump in if I've screwed this up. You know, it's been a few days, but they had a regular wrestling match, which was, oh gosh, it ended in a disqualification, right?
Yeah.
Someone hit the other one with the chair. Who hit him?
Johnny hit Cole.
Gargano threw away a fall, and he ended up on the losing end of things, and he just gave away a fall here via DQ for just smacking someone with the chair. So
okay, right, and then Cole had to have won the second fall, which was pretty shortly.
The street fight.
Yeah, which was in short order after that, and then they had that ludicrous cage match. Okay, so the first thing about this, and we'll kind of take these in order here and break up the conversation. So I like the story. Johnny Gargano picked a wrestling match and can't beat Cole in a wrestling match, so he says, "Fuck it," and hit him with a chair. I'll get him down the line. Now, Chris Bailey, if I get frustrated and decide I'm going to hit you with a chair, 3 seconds later, I'm going to try to pin you again because you should still be out fucking cold.
Yes, sir. So common sense would tell you, but no, it ended up being like 29 minutes into the match before the second fall ended. So
he didn't even try. He didn't even try.
What did you do? I mean, they were fighting at ringside. They were doing everything. They even got the good old "Mamma Mia" going on out there on the from the announcers. It was I don't know. This was a disaster. So when you talk about psychology, you went from a match that had pure psychology with Shayna Baszler to a match that had none whatsoever. Like common sense was not working here in this at all.
No,
you had someone throw away a fall. The guy who lost threw away a fall via disqualification because he used the chair. And then you had to feel sympathy at the end of the show when the guy loses. I'm just thinking, you are a complete moron, Gargano.
But that's the thing, like, if you, like, I've seen where the appropriate logical thing to do after you've won the first fall, either you've lost the first fall because you've cheated and you've walloped the guy, is as soon as the guy shows any signs of life and they ring that second bell again, you kick him in the face. And you go for yet another pin. Especially if it's the second fall's a street fight, and now it doesn't matter what you do. You wait for him to turn. You just hide in the back, and you wait for him to turn around, and bam, hit him again with the chair.
They went about 9 minutes after the chair shots. It was crazy.
So, so in my opinion, Johnny Gargano's gimmick is that he's brain dead.
He's just, absolutely
could be.
He's a
world's dumbest wrestler.
He's a wrestling zombie. He's just running around, Gargano, wrestling, and falls off stuff. Because I can't imagine he has any fucking logical sense. You know what I mean, Sheehan? Like, how do you, like, I don't know who the agent was for this match. Some people were telling me,
I'm
like,
guessing Shawn Michaels.
that's what everyone said. Like, he's been agenting all their matches, and either Shawn Michaels kind of showed up and just said, "I don't care what you do. I'm going in the dressing room to get high, or read the Bible, or whatever it is he's doing these days."
Yeah.
Or I don't know. There was no adult supervision here. It was literally like you guys are booked in a 2 out of 3 falls match. You're the best thing since sliced bread. Go do whatever the fuck you want. And these two idiots went insane. There was no psychology, and I'm just talking about the first 2 falls here. No psychology whatsoever. Utter absence of any logical thought process. It was It was just 2 cartoon characters breaking the laws of physics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't give away a fall unless it's an Iron Man match. Because that's the kind of match where you can just, okay, I hit you with the chair, I lost the fall, now I'm going to pin you twice.
Right.
You know, you could do that kind of a thing, but this was just so dumb. And when they announced the Ambrose Asylum cage coming back for the 3rd fall here, I was a bit disappointed because I was hoping that the 3rd fall was going to be a loser leaves NXT match, because this feud needs to go away. This feud just needs to end, and I was hoping that this was just going to be the end of everything, because that's the way they've been building it up. Is, this is the last of our series, and I figure what better way than to actually get rid of one of these guys, let them go to the main roster and maybe build to something else. But that wasn't the case, and we got the horrible Pee-wee's Playhouse cage full of crap. And
well, Sheehan, I guarantee you that this would have been Tommaso Ciampa fighting Johnny Gargano.
100%,
I mean,
100%.
yeah, absolutely. If he didn't get injured, this would have been Ciampa versus Gargano again. Trust me.
Part 55. Yeah, it's just too damn much. Too damn much. Are we talking about that 3rd fall yet?
Let me. You brought up Ciampa, and 2 things. One, I thought the way that this ended, I thought Ciampa was going to cost him the title, Johnny Gargano. I thought he was going to cost him the match or something, and that they were going to bring him back. But I'm thinking back to those last couple of Gargano Ciampa matches where they destroyed the ring, and it's the only thing I can think of. And we can transition to the cage now. It's the only thing I can think of to where they decided to do what they did in that stupid cage. And it was like, well, we can't destroy the ring, so what else can we do? So let's build to a spot where both of us do a suicide pact off the top of the cage, wrapped in barbed wire, through a table. But because we're WWE and there's rules against this stuff, and we don't want to quote unquote do blood and guts, we're gonna use barbed wire, fall through cages, hit each other with kendo sticks, and there'll not be an ounce of blood in sight. And here's the thing: you can get away with that when you have no visible competition doing any of that sort of thing. But when the night before and like the show before with AEW, there's blood everywhere for less than that, it becomes like you guys are now living in a bubble that's so far outside of reality, you're taking me out of the show. Which, to NXT's credit, they used to be like the one bit of wrestling where I was enraptured in the universe they were creating from beginning to end. And that whole cage from beginning to end was so bad, it took me out of the entire show altogether.
Absolutely.
Where did Johnny just happen to find a pair of pliers, by the way?
It was in a bag. I thought the bag was going to be full of thumbtacks.
Right.
But then, there wasn't going to be any blood, so it couldn't have been thumbtacks. But
maybe it was the same pliers that Triple H took out Batista's nose ring with at WrestleMania.
That's what Moro made mention of that. So
there you go, same one.
Well,
by the way, if one of these guys from NXT grabs a sledgehammer one more time, I'm going to be like, "Can you just drop the sledgehammer and blow Triple H right in the middle of the ring?" Because I would have more respect for you.
Man, let's move on from this trash.
We have all this plunder, right? I mean, we have all this plunder in this ring, and like you said, they just climb up to that table, they look at each other, they look at the crowd, and then they both jump. They didn't wrestle each other off of it. They looked, and they're like, it was like the that Aerosmith video from the '90s where that broad jumped off the bridge. It's just like jump
about Liv Tyler.
or the other one. It was the other one.
I know, but I can't remember her name.
What the hell is her name?
Alicia Silverstone?
Yeah, you're talking about Batgirl.
Crazy.
Oh my god, now I just want to see them falling and just infinitely to I don't want to close my eyes. 'cause I miss you and I don't want to disappear. I know that's not the song, but
it's just like it just seemed like so much build up, so much plunder, so much just beating the crap out of one another, and then they just both romantically dive off the table, and one happens to land on top of the other.
Gargano should have said to Cole, "I love you," and Cole should have said, "I know." Then they fall, and I would have been okay.
Yep, and the crowd was actually chanting, "Please don't die." I kid you not. That was the actual chant.
And fight forever. It's like haven't they been?
Gross.
Okay. This was in a
SummerSlam,
different
for God's
arena,
sake.
right? This was in a different arena than SummerSlam.
No, it's the same arena.
Same.
You think it was the same fans? Because there were some odd chants at SummerSlam I noticed, and I wonder about was the same stuff going on here. I don't know if it was the fans or what, but there were some weird chants going on that just seemed not like they fit the action. So
They're the international chants because this is one of those big destination weekends where, like they what is it, like 7 or 8 nights in the same damn building? So
Something like that.
Yeah. Ugh.
Never again. This was the... And here's the thing. I went on this whole rant about how, like, Shayna Baszler had probably one of the best matches of the night, but everyone hates her and thinks she's terrible. Everyone thought that this match was the tits. They just thought it was the best thing ever. And I'm like, but for why? It made no sense. Then they suicide packed it as the fucking finisher.
Do you know the run time on this one? It's the longest NXT main event ever.
It was over an hour, right?
It went
Yeah,
it went
46
50 minutes. No,
okay.
50 minutes, 58 seconds total.
Oh, okay, I've got it on.
It felt like over an hour.
I was going to say Twitter has it at 46:41, but it doesn't matter. This just real quick summation, then we'll move on to SummerSlam. This show missed the mark in a couple of different places. Like, look, I think if you run it past, like, say, like the last month or so of shows, it's still one of the better ones. But if you run it past just the last couple of NXTs, it's probably by far the worst. This was the most aggravating, we clearly are acknowledging AEW, so so now we're insecure. We don't know what to do. It's the same feuds. It's the same people by and large. This felt like nobody gave a shit about this show, and that's the way it came across.
It was just.
I think they're
water.
caught in a little. Yeah, they're caught in a little bit of a holding pattern. They really need to shake up the roster. They need to move some talent right away.
They need to give some other people a chance on fucking Takeover. That would be nice.
For sure. Yeah.
Jesse, unless you have any burning desires here, we're going to move this on to
do you think this is going to be the end of this feud between these two, between Cole and Gargano?
Probably
Jesus,
not.
it has to be. It has to be.
There's nowhere else to go.
Either they do my idea for War Games, or they do something entirely different. They're not having a one-on-one match.
Okay.
I swear to God, if they have a one-on-one match, I'm driving to Orlando and punching whoever I fucking see in the.
We're going to do it again.
Have they had an Iron Man match yet?
Oh, shut up, Sheehan.
And guess what? Gargano will come out as Iron Man.
Oh no! Don't give him ideas, Jesse.
No, he'll come out as Ironheart because #woke.
Oh,
All right.
Hey, Jesse, I changed it up. I didn't say #me too.
Well, you just did. Gotta get it in there. Get your shit in, Mark.
Yeah, that's my middle name. That's my Mark. Get your shit in, Radulich. All right. Speaking of getting your shit in, we had 3 prelim shows on the 2-hour kickoff. We had Drew Gulak, who defeated Oney Lorcan. Buddy Murphy defeated Apollo Crews in the competition of who has more personality, and Apollo Crews lost by default.
the fans lost that one.
Yeah. And then Alexa Bliss and her new bestie, Nikki Cross, defeated the Iconics. Wow. Remember when Alexa Bliss was like the best thing in the women's division, at least as far as management went? Now she's in a meaningless best friends gimmick with Nikki Cross on the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
And
it doesn't look like the other shoe was going to drop anytime soon. I thought this was just like a build for her to turn on her, and it almost feels like they're not going to even bother.
Did somebody in the back feel bad for
think
Nikki
they
Cross?
lost. I don't know. I think they might have lost the run sheet or something that says she was supposed to turn on her 2 months ago. But
just fuck it. Now you guys are friends. Now you guys are best friends. And oh god, and not that she did a Marvel character, but I'll give Alexa Bliss credit. She for a while was one of the few that was doing the character specific gear. But really, Buzz Lightyear in Toronto? What's the connection? Did I miss something?
Nope.
Okay, just checking.
Is Tim Allen Canadian? I don't know.
Is he? What happened to Harley Quinn? Where did that go?
I don't know. I liked her Iron Man gear. That was fun. I think actually my favorite thing is when she used to come out with Buddy Murphy and the other fella.
With the Elm Street stuff.
Yeah, she had like the diamond
stuff,
the glove on, and they all wore like the Freddy sweaters. Like I thought that was a cool look for her. I wish she had kept it. Anyone got anything on these 3 matches because they were imminently forgettable for me?
I did not watch them, so I abstain.
Terrific.
No, the Iconics are a good act. That's pretty well it. It was a good tag match with the girls. That's about all I can say.
That's about it.
All right. Sometimes you main event WrestleMania, and sometimes you open SummerSlam. Fucking Becky Lynch.
The man.
Let me tell you something. Last year, I believe it was, when Vince McMahon only knew one woman on the roster, and her name was Charlotte. It was Charlotte and a bunch of bitches.
Yeah.
People were just about sick of Charlotte Flair. She was on every pay-per-view. She was on every show. She may not have always had the title, but she just pretty much was the only woman.
She was always in the mix, yeah.
Yeah, she was the only woman anyone ever gave a shit about on the roster. And people at that point were so sick of it, they'd have cheered a fucking ham sandwich to beat her. In walks Becky Lynch, who I will now refer to as said ham sandwich, who got the benefit of fucking X-Pac hate on Charlotte. And boy, did that go to her head, and everyone misunderstand what was happening. Yeah, there were probably some people who genuinely liked Becky Lynch, and I'm not saying I hated her, but does everyone remember, but before that, she was the steampunk loser who wasn't winning matches?
Yeah,
yes, but that's a
jokes
novelty.
Yeah.
She became like girl Daniel Bryan.
And well, that was the thing. Like, she was supposed to turn heel and beat up on Charlotte because she was frustrated. This seems to be a recurring theme. She was frustrated she couldn't beat Charlotte, so she was supposed to go, Io Shirai crazy, and just fuck Charlotte up and be the heel. And it didn't work out that way because everyone hated Charlotte. And then the Becky Lynch fucking push was born. And so, yeah, sure. Now she's done nothing else since then except for a lot of bad tweets, and her entire act has deflated. And they don't know what to do with her. They didn't understand why she was popular in the first place, and she is lost in the sauce. And then here's Natalya, who has benefited from happened to being from Canada. Bailey?
It's not my fault.
They cashed in.
I had nothing to do with this. So poor old Natalya. I mean, she came out to like a smattering of cheers, I'll say. It's like, hey, I'm Canadian, and Canada was like, we fucking don't care.
And she had her flag too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were trying everything. I mean, the Canadians who showed up here, with the exception of Edge in the pre-show, which we forgot to talk about, were just not over. I mean, even Trish later on in the night really had to fight for to get the fans under her. But yeah. I mean, when Natalya comes out and the chant is "Let's go Becky," not a good sign. I'm telling you right now, not great.
Hey, I'm Canadian. Oh, so you are.
Yeah, look at me. That's all I got, and I'm going to do the sharpshooter and talk about my gross Uncle Brett. That's all I'm going to do. Look at my dad. He died. That's Natalya's whole thing, right? That's her whole deal. That's her gimmick.
What would they have done if they had this SummerSlam in Ghana? Who would they have dragged up then?
God knows. Well, you know what? They didn't overdo the big spots. They focused on the steps and and they went with the submission thing, which is cool as well. So, I mean, there was some good that came out of this. I'm surprised that. Well, I shouldn't be surprised, actually, because in your hometown, usually they don't want to put you over anyway. So Natalya submitting in her home country to the disarmer. Mm-hmm. And Becky Lynch, the man, walks away with her hand held high, and and her man wins at the end of the night as well. So all is good in Rollins man land.
I was just going to say I enjoyed the match. I didn't hate it or anything. I thought it was, for me it was the first match. I didn't get to watch any of the pre-show stuff. We got them trading finishers / submission holds, which was pretty cool. The sharpshooter on the turnbuckle was neat. So I had a good time. The crowd was, I think, into it because they started chanting, "This was awesome," and I can't remember. I believe this one seemed worthy enough for the "This is awesome" chant. There's a couple ones after this where I was like, okay, what is going on? But
not for nothing, that Toronto crowd would have chanted "This is awesome" from Mike Patton flopping around to Epic by Faith No More.
I think the "This is awesome" chants were during the Trish match, wasn't it? I think we got
a lot of them.
I think Canada was sort of indecisive on this one.
My notes have "This is awesome" chant listed here, so
we're indifferent.
I mean, they went with the only chant that really stuck out to me was the "Let's go Becky sucks" chant. I mean,
yeah.
Ugh.
Well, so I was entertained. I'll come out of this. I right off the bat was like, oh hey, the word pandering comes up again, but we had quite a few Canadian pandering moments where it's like, okay, we're going to bring out the Canadian superstar and let's see how they do. And I didn't see Natalya going over this. As a matter of fact, I think I that was one of my notes was I just couldn't see Natalya going over at all. But at the end of it, I was right. And Becky walked away as the winner.
The only thing that Natalya is over with is her cats at home.
I literally was just going to say it. I was just going to ask you, Mark, say something about her cats. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure her husband doesn't even like her. Sheehan?
Oh, this was a match. This was a match. As they were building this thing up, it felt like we didn't have a baby face or a heel here. It was just two people that were both unpleasant. It was just two unpleasant people with a beef, and they wanted to fight for a belt, and it was just not the best thing for me. I was bored throughout most of it. Natalya is this is her annual trip to the main event to a title match, so she could be a sacrificial lamb. So I mean, we've seen this every year for the past 8 or 9, so it's nothing new. I don't know who they're going to have beat Becky. I don't know if there's anyone.
Ronda when she comes back.
That's probably it, because I can't see anyone else doing it. I don't think they should have taken the other belt off of her either. I think they should have kept her with both belts, because I think she lost something when she lost that belt. But yeah, it was just a match, and it ended exactly how I thought it was going to end.
Well, you got to have credibility to lose credibility. And I'm sorry. I was into the whole Becky thing too when it was.
Organic?
Yeah, when it was organic, when it felt very Daniel Bryan-ish, when the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 thing happened, it was organic the whole way through, and at least for me, I won't speak for anybody else here, but at least for me, it was like, he does deserve it. This is a guy who, art imitating life, art imitating life, imitating art, it was a very meta angle. Because I think a lot of that was true. I think the backstage really did see him as a mid-card guy, no higher than a U.S. title or IC run, and that's it. He's too small. No one's going to buy tickets to see this guy wrestle, and then he goes and beats 3 of the huge main eventers that beat everybody in one night. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow, you deserve it, buddy. I remember, and make fun of me all you want for this, but I actually cried at the end of that. That got to me emotionally. This guy fucking deserves it. They told this story so well, and they're such bad storytellers at times. See my years ago, see my rant about CM Punk and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Yuck.
The problem with the Bryan thing is that it worked so good and worked so well that they've been trying to they tried remaking it with Becky, and they tried remaking it with Kofi this year, and it's like, no, that the Bryan one was special. The Bryan one was real, and now all of a sudden we're to believe a woman on the roster that Vince probably didn't even realize was there is the bane of his existence, and he doesn't want her anywhere near a title. It's like, where did this even come from?
Right.
it's just so out of nowhere, and it only worked the first time because it was real, and now it's just so manufactured.
She doesn't seem to get the character either, Sheehan.
I'm not sure what the character is.
The way she comes to the ring, I think she's trying to put off a Steve Austin vibe. She doesn't get it. Her promos looks like she's reading out of the Yellow Pages or something. It is really, really hard to listen to and watch. It's so forced.
Like
it is very forced.
I know you guys all hated Lacey Evans, but honestly, I think not counting the pre-title stuff, I think coming out of WrestleMania, her best stuff was with Lacey Evans. And then it just all fell apart after that. Well,
Lacey Evans owned her character and actually seemed like she did the character properly with her promos and everything. Yeah, she was all into the character, and it fit her role. This doesn't suit Becky Lynch at all. This is Becky Lynch playing the man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the best match of the night. This was phenomenal. They honestly should have ended the show with this. Goldberg.
I loved it.
Beats Dolph Ziggler with a Spirited Jackhammer at 1 minute and 50 seconds. And I'll tell you, I've never been a big Dolph Ziggler fan. I'm not a huge work rate guy. Oh, look, I can bump all over the place like Shawn Michaels. Good for you. Hope your back isn't tiny pieces of chalk by the time you're 40. But this new Dolph Ziggler where he has cognitive dissonance is fantastic.
Awesome.
It's amazing. And I get made fun of a lot for being a huge Goldberg fan, but dude, he is exactly the kind of wrestler I want. Go in, smash a fucker, leave.
That's what's wrong with that. They didn't get that in his first run into WWE. Man, if they did this right away out of the gate, they wouldn't have had an issue with Goldberg. He would have sold tickets. But instead, they had him come out. They had him covered in a leather jacket. They had him doing 15 to 20-minute matches where he got gas and he couldn't do half the moves. He looked like a bum. Triple H couldn't stand him. It was a complete disaster. This is the Goldberg we need to see. In and out in under a minute. He got into the ring. They paired him with a guy who could sell his shit, and that's all you need to do in the beginning. The easy formula, Goldberg's a star again. The whole Saudi Arabia bullshit is forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my notes here was that I was worried Goldberg was going to get blown up as many times as he made his way to and from the ring.
He was sweating.
This is too long a walk. Fuck this. Give me one of those ring trolleys.
He's like, no problem in the ring. It's getting to the ring he may have issues with here. I mean, it's just back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, how long, and I can't recall it for some reason. I don't know if I watched it or not. No, I didn't. How long was the match between him and Taker? Was it longer than it should have been?
I believe it was 9 hours.
At the very least, yeah.
So
I think it rang in just under 10 minutes.
It's still too long, yeah.
Okay. Well, for a Goldberg match, yeah, that it is. And of course, we heard all of what happened there, and the fact that it was that he got gassed, right, in that match between him and the Taker.
Yeah, he tried KO'd with a tombstone, didn't he?
He
was
tried
on
to
Weird Street after the tombstone.
Yeah, they tried to say that he hit his head and that he was partially concussed or something, or at least knocked out.
Okay. All
right. But
he
looked like he was just gassed.
Goldberg's good for knocking himself out. We're gonna take a pause for the cause here as we go to one of our sponsors, sort of. Hey everybody, I really do hope you love the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We just discovered this free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. Here's how it works. You listen to podcasts, and you earn Podcoin while you listen. Then you turn that Podcoin in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks, or if you're a good person, you could even donate that Podcoin to charity. The more you listen, the more you earn. Here's what you do. Download the app right now on iPhone or Android, and I have a special code for you. Simply use our code MARKWED5. That's capital MARKWED 5. Capital MARKWED 5. MARKWED 5. And you'll get 300 Podcoin just for signing up. And if you listen to enough of us on there, you can get a cappuccino at Starbucks or an Amazon gift card on us. So go ahead and go listen to this podcast or virtually any podcast on Podcoin and sign up with code MARKWED5. I swear It'll change the way you listen to podcasts. We don't sell dick pills here, people. Just Podcoin. Only Podcoin.
Roll Tide.
All right, so back to the show here. Speaking of me reading from copy, AJ Styles wrestled Ricochet. Ugh. They had a match. These guys aren't bad wrestlers. They're some of the best wrestlers in the world. They had a best wrestlers in the world match. Ricochet didn't stick a hand up his ass, so that was a plus.
Yes! You stole it from my grasp. I love it.
I completely forgot about all that.
I will never, and I'm bringing it up every time he wrestles.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, sir.
5 years too late, AJ Styles is doing the Bullet Club gimmick in the WWE. Hooray, hurrah. Chris Sheehan.
I fast forwarded through the first half of this. We've just seen it way too often. Like you said, these two guys are great, but I mean, this has got to be the 9th or 10th televised match between the two of these guys in 2 or 3 months. It's just way too much, and I'm happy it ended the way it did. I didn't think it was going to. I thought Ricochet was going to take the belt back, but I guess he didn't get the ass blast in for the finish. So AJ managed to eke this one out. I do like that Ricochet did adopt the Anaconda Vice, though. I've missed that move. I like that he brought it back here.
Hey, I've never seen a feud make me wish for squash matches and like jobber matches before so much in my life. I know, look, I know that dealing with Nitro, beating them in the ratings, gave everybody who worked for the company PTSD. But can we please go back to more of his superstars and early Raw format? It's okay. You guys will be fine. Saudi Arabia is paying you millions of dollars. You won't go out of business. I swears it. Jesus Christ. They wrestle each other so much because there's nobody else for them to wrestle without doing squash matches and jobber matches. And it's like, by the time you get to the pay-per-view, it's like Sheehan said, you've now seen this match 8,000 fucking times. Right, Bailey?
Yeah, it's too much.
It's true, man. This one is worn out. I think the only thing that they're doing with poor old Ricochet, you know what? The bodysuit, I think that's just a cash out, man. I think I have no personality, so by God, I'll dress up like Nightwing and, maybe people will cheer me. I think that's what this is, man. Pure desperation. We've seen it a million times. I do like the OC gimmick, though. Cool logo. They're going to stick together for a little while because they've actually got a T-shirt right now, so they got to make some money. Outside of that, between the T-shirt and the Nightwing shirt and the ass play, there's nothing to see here, man.
Ass play, Jesse. What do you think?
Oh my goodness! Oh, I enjoyed the finish of the.
I bet you
did. Perfect setup right there. So,
Four fingers and a knuckle.
So,
that's Matt Hardy's little finger thing, right?
Oh, wait a second. V1. All right. So, yeah, I haven't been...
That's horrible, Sheehan.
I haven't been beat to death. I have not been beat to death with this match, because I only watch wrestling when I have to come on the podcast. So this is the first time I think that they didn't wrestle on the WrestleMania pay-per-view, did they?
No, Ricochet was still a tag guy then with Aleister Black, yeah.
Got all right.
Aleister forgotten. Aleister not necessarily appearing on this card.
So I enjoyed what I saw here, although I expected it to be actually a little bit more high-flying than it was, because I think Styles grounded him a little bit more than what I was expecting. But, like I said, I like the finish. AJ catches him and then puts him in the Styles Clash. Catches him off the top rope and puts him in the Styles Clash. And I think it ended like it should have. So, hey, I don't think we're going to talk about it, but I know they did the vignette for, was it Roman Reigns? They didn't have a match. Roman Reigns didn't have a match, did he?
No.
No, because he's dead.
That's right.
Who killed Roman?
Damn cameraman.
What?
They just showed the Roman Reigns tribute to Buddy Hackett. Damn it! Tripped over my own fucking joke. Take two. Edit. Jesse, you're going to edit this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Roman Reigns tribute to Benny Hill.
Okay. All right. Well, DK Abel at DK_Abel on Twitter here says, "Oh my God, I figured it out. Roman Reigns has dirt on the Clintons."
So my daughter's favorite match of the night up to this point, Bayley defeated Ember Moon, who I honestly thought was Naomi at first. Like, I'm not even making a joke. When they showed the graphic, and I don't watch SmackDown, so I don't know who she's feuding with. So when they showed the graphic, I'm used to Naomi being very colorful and, you know, having all the neon paint on and everything. So when they showed her, I'm like, oh, did they make Naomi a heel? Oh, fuck me, that's Ember Moon.
Oh,
You know what Ember Moon is? Ember Moon is a classic example of what happens when you get fat when you make bigger money. The girl is. Do you know when people like gain a bit of weight, they sort of lose their shape and lose their facial features. That's where Moon is right now. She's got, I think she's got that hefty 15 pounds on there. She's slowed down considerably. Her match with Bayley lost a crowd. This is not the same girl that was in NXT, man. This was a shame.
yeah, this match really brought it down for me. I mean, if I was a smoker, this is the match that I would have went out and grabbed a cigarette too. It's just there was nothing really there for me to be like. Did they even show like a build-up vignette or nothing? No, right?
Bayley just offered to the match basically.
That's complete filler right there. There was no reason for you to have this on there.
They showed the the Prophets backstage shouting "We the North" with Ric Flair.
Oh, wonderful.
That felt like that was like months ago. Wow, that was just the other night. Oh boy.
Yeah, they don't know what to do. Bayley could have been the female John Cena. Bayley could have been where Becky Lynch was over the last year if she didn't have a chin like Sergeant Slaughter, and Vince didn't have a fetish for blondes. So
finally, someone talks about Bayley's chin. Finally,
oh, Jesus Christ! Attention! Give me a hug. Look, I like Bayley. I loved Bayley when she was in NXT. She peaked with her match where she main evented with Sasha Banks in her Dusty Rhodes gear, and she's never quite been the same. They clearly, management in the WWE clearly doesn't know what to do with her. She's only carrying the title right now because Sasha went home and cried about the tag team titles and just a general lack of a push. And it's it. She's just holding the title until they figure out who they really want to put it back on. That's it. And they
need to add more. They need to add more title reigns for Charlotte. So she got to lose them as many times as she wins them, so she can. So by the end of 2 years from now, we could be celebrating the 7-time champion.
Yeah,
but Bayley here. They keep discovering that she's getting fire. Like she's getting a little bit more aggressive. But they're making that same discovery in every single match now. It's like, wow, Bayley's bringing the heat. It's like, well, you said that 2 weeks ago, and you said it a week before that. When is this going to get somewhere where, she's already hot? Yeah, we need this to actually go somewhere instead of it just like, wow, she's really acting aggressive. It's like, well, no shit, you said that every week.
Well, is the gimmick that Bayley
Hot Pocket that's not cooked?
Is the gimmick that Bayley's on methadone? And she's like, oh, she woke up.
Oh no.
But in echoing everything you guys said, this was a bit of a plotting endeavor here, and I didn't think Ember was going to win it. I don't think she's and it's so weird because you only have the tag team titles aren't really treated as much, so you only have like the one belt for the women. So it's like, what do you do after you win it? You lose it. There's no. Like if you're on the men's side, you can win the Intercontinental belt or the 24/7 belt and keep working up. With the women's title, it's just okay. You win it and then you're just done. You peaked. You're as high as you're ever gonna go. And I think they've been doing that too early with a lot of the call ups. So I'm glad they didn't do it with Ember Moon here. But and I'm rambling at this point. But it was just a plotting match, and I think I fast forwarded through some of it.
Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon did a acoustic cover of the Attitude Era, Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon feud.
Yeah,
this was
much shittier version.
Yeah, they did their version of More Than Stunners. Oh God, no one got that Nelson joke. Damn it! No, does anyone even know what a Nelson is? Come on, more than
Hold on.
words.
DJ Tanner had their poster on her wall. in
Yeah.
Full House.
Long blonde hair.
I wish Pat
Gunner
Mullen,
and Murphy, right?
I wish Pat Mullen were here. He'd have known what Nelson was. All right, so that's what I thought of that match. This was them paying tribute to to an angle that was much better done and was also done 20 years ago. Jesse?
Not shot to a stunner. KO goes over. I mean, I have no idea. I put in here was the build-up promo longer than the actual match because it seemed like that went awful quick. But regardless, I mean, yeah, I can't say I was really invested in coming off of. I was more invested than the women's match that just happened prior to this. But it is what it is.
Bailey?
Jesus Christ, son, I didn't like this match.
God damn, son.
Goddamn, son, give me a beer. No, man. This whole Stone Cold KO stuff don't do anything for me, especially with high blood pressure Shane McMahon just a bit ready to explode like a tomato. Did nothing for me. He actually hit the stunner. That's the only thing that I'm going to give Stone Cold. Oh, my God.
Look at you
KO,
go.
sorry. He actually hit the stunner for the first time since he's been using it, so that's what I'll give him. Good job.
And Shane sold it. Shane sold it pretty well, I think. I like that. I thought that was pretty good.
Much better than Linda McMahon.
Oh, boy.
I thought they had something there with Kevin Owens kind of being the voice of the people going, hey, remember when you all came out here and said we're going to listen to the fans and then proceeded to not listen to anyone? Okay, cool. Thanks for you and Sami Zayn, the voice of Twitter. And then it followed the same stupid boring WWE formula everything seems to follow. I was like, whatever. By the time we got to this match, I'm like, I don't care, Sheehan.
I just don't know where they're going with it and what's the point. To kind of piggyback off what you just said here, you had Kevin Owens come out on SmackDown about a month ago saying, like, hey, how come you're in matches and guys like Buddy Murphy and Ali are not in matches? And now we have Kevin Owens outnumbered with Elias out there, and none of the people he mentioned as being, victims of this injustice come out to help him. Mm-hmm. It's just so it's like an alternative universe here. We're just watching a rehash of something that happened a long time ago, and like I haven't seen SmackDown. It's on tonight. Is it going to start with Shane just acting like the match never happened? Because I kind of think that it might. It's just there's just no stakes here.
Yeah. That was the thing, the stuff with Austin and McMahon back in the late 90s, things mattered. I mean, you can make the argument, well, it was also fresher and newer back then, but no, those angles mattered. They plotted things out. I mean, there were a couple times
they committed.
Yeah, there were a couple of times where they backed themselves into a corner and paid it off by shooting their own head off. It was me, Austin. It was me. Oh,
Oh, son of a bitch.
who moved the briefcase in the ladder match, that sort of which had no payoff. And apparently to this day Bruce doesn't know who moved the briefcase.
That was Boss Man, wasn't it? No.
Yeah.
It was Stephanie, right? No.
Pretty sure it was the same guy who had GTV up that wasn't Gold Dust. Anyway. Speaking of GTV, Hootie McBoob versus Canadian Hootie McBoob in a boobs on a pole match.
Trish Stratus comes out in Toronto to almost zero applause. I was shuddering watching her come out, and she's doing that finger point in the air, which always drove me crazy anyway. But at least back in the Attitude Era, she'd get a big pop. It seemed like she was going around that ring forever, putting the finger up in the air, and nobody was cheering. I don't know. I just wanted to yell at the producer, will you stop? Please, God,
Half
stop.
the people in the crowd weren't born yet when she was wrestling.
Exactly.
Yep.
Sheehan, you got anything?
This was a match. It went the way it was supposed to, but it didn't do anything for me. And like Bailey said, there was just this did not get half the reaction that they thought it would, and I felt bad for both of them in this. But Yeah, it ended the way it was supposed to, and at least by the end, they were able to get people to cheer Trish after she lost. So there's that.
This was one of the matches, and this I think was the match where they started chanting, "This is awesome," and I was like, "What are you guys?
What are they doing?
What are you talking about? There is not." I've seen better stuff elsewhere, and not on pay-per-views. I don't understand. This was the match where my wife got involved and did not understand Trish's ring gear. Why on the She's like, why does it look like that? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. So
why does she have fake side panels?
That's exactly
it was horrible.
That
was
like,
all the talk during the entire match were those beige side panels. Horrible.
Is it supposed to be? Can you see her skin, or is that her skin? What is going on? So yeah, there was not much here, and Trish kind of looked a little off at some points, but then she'd go right back to it. So, for how old is Trish now? We were trying to figure that out. She's got to be near between 45 and 50 now, right?
Yeah, she's around
Probably.
45, I'm sure.
Okay, all right. Well, so good on her for coming back, but I mean, it was quiet. I mean, this is her hometown, or at least her home nation, or whatever. She should have been.
I have an answer for you. She's going to be 43 this year.
43, so she is just a little bit older than I am. Okay, all right. Well, regardless, I mean, she looks good, but as far as in-ring ability, I mean, she held her own. But
Can we stop it with the Trish was like super good in the ring? She was
Please.
fine. She was fine in the era where if you could put together a hip toss and a body slam, and you had huge tits, you could be a wrestler.
If you could balance on the top rope, you're good.
Okay, she got carried by an actual wrestler who was Lita, and she got by on her looks for everything else. Like, let's cut this the fuck out already.
One of the best women's matches I remember from back, I think this was like early 2000s, was Trish versus Lita. And there was some actual blood in that one, if I remember right, and that was when you just didn't see women bleed a whole lot, and I think it was a complete accident.
No, Jesse, they bleed all the time, just as Volbeat.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Anyway. Oh, man.
Should I start doing Volbeat singing into vaginas again?
Can we please not make this into Metal Hammer of Doom? We do not need that tonight. I don't know if there is any respect for this show, but yeah, I remember that match specifically, and those two being involved, and that being one of the best women's matches I had seen for quite a long time. Now that pales in comparison with some of the stuff we see now, especially on NXT. And
the girls are actually doing wrestling moves.
Yeah, Trish was not. So you're right. Trish may have been a legend, a groundbreaker, but she wasn't anything like we see nowadays, athletic wise.
At the same ability, if she had a face like Shayna Baszler, you wouldn't know who the fuck Trish Stratus was.
I hear you.
She wouldn't even have gotten a job in the WWE. She got a job because she was a fitness model and she's awfully pretty. Period.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard this podcast where these four guys just shit all over wrestling. It's amazing. Okay, so I hate Randy Orton and everything he stands for and everyone that looks like him.
Amen.
Weirdly enough, I actually really like this match. This was This was a solid match. Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston. I actually thought it was a solid match, and while everyone just sort of unzipped their pants and peed on their TVs or computers or iPads or phones when it went to a double count out, I'm okay with it. They're obviously going to blow this off at Hell in a Cell after they've wrestled 50 more times, so whatever. So who cares? Your thoughts, Jesse?
Well, I don't want to see Orton Kingston go 50 more times. That's for damn sure.
Well, you will, and you'll like it. So
and we've already done that with John Cena, so we don't need to do it again with Orton and Kingston. So yeah, I didn't expect the double count out. That kind of took me by surprise. I remember sitting there watching it with Caleb, and me and Caleb were kind of into it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, they're both counted out. And
when was the last time you saw a double count out in a major WWE event? You don't see them that You don't see him that like often. So, like I said, on the occasion that they do him, it doesn't bother me.
I was kind of confused about Kofi's flipping out session towards the end. I don't know where they're going with this, and it might be something that they've been kind of building up to. I understand his frustration with Randy Orton and how Randy Orton, 10 years ago was the guy that kind of kept him down, but he flipped out and like started beating him with the Kempo stick or whatever. I don't know. It just didn't feel like the.
Apparently, Randy Orton's gimmick is that he's a creep that wants to fuck everyone's wife, because this is not the first time they've done that.
Oh, was that what he was doing over there? Sweet talking Kofi's wife.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Randy Orton. I once sexually assaulted Stephanie McMahon on camera. Would you like to fuck? My children are here. That's what happened.
And then Kofi's like, all right, now that shit's going to end. So I enjoyed the match for what it was, but I didn't understand the ending. I don't know where they're going to go from here. So you said they were supposed to go to Hell in a Cell?
That's my guess.
Okay. All right.
Sheehan?
I was into this one too. I was actually kind of happy they did the double count out, because I thought this was going to end with Randy just eating the kick. It feels like a lot of Kofi's matches have become kind of a procedural in that it's competitive and then out of nowhere the kick and it's over. And I didn't want to see that again. I'm not a huge Randy fan. I feel like I kind of like him as like an outsider, like where you can't tell if he's a heel or a babyface, but here he's decidedly the heel. It was a match, and yeah, this feud must continue, so it will.
Has Kofi Kingston always had no muscle tone in his pecs?
It's so disturbing.
He's got the Chris Jericho pec separation shit going on.
Yeah, you could pour a bowl of cereal in that. I'm surprised they didn't during that game.
Every time I look at his chest, I'm like, could you get the vest that Roman Reigns is wearing and please wear it? Like, ugh. Mm-hmm. Like,
he got the cannonball that Johnny Gargano got shot at him, I think.
Yeah, he looks like his pecs are deflated.
It's disturbing.
Yeah. Deflator what? Deflator pecs. Bailey, take us home, baby.
Oh, God. Well, Canada got it right on this one. They actually had the best chant going on during this match. They actually had one that said, Kofi stupid, Randy sucks. Kofi stupid, Randy sucks. Okay. Classic. Beautiful. Wow. Well done, Canada. So that's a plus on this one. Could not stand the double count-out finish. I don't care. I understand that, a count-out, double count-out, was a pretty nice thing to throw in from time to time, but not in a world title match. The crowd was chanting, this is bullshit. I mean, it just pissed people off. But I'll tell you one thing that does come out of this. If this turns Kofi into a more hard-edge character, I just want him to stop throwing pancakes. So yes. if that leads to this, well, that's a win. That's all I got to say about that.
Our next match features a battle of people who are basically only entrances at this point. Finn Balor versus Bray fucking Wyatt, who I believe is 0-500 in matches. Okay. I haven't watched a single minute of the Firefly Funhouse. I know all the cool kids think this is great. All the cool kids, think that Bray Wyatt and the stupid Firefly Funhouse thing is just the best thing ever. It's the best 5 minutes on Raw. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I don't want to watch it. I don't care about Bray Wyatt. You had me with the Wyatt family, and you jobbed him to everybody, including Jesse Starcher. Okay? At a house,
I dropped a massive butt cheek on him and won. It was amazing.
Jesse hit him with fucking the bonsai splash, and it was over for Bray Wyatt. I know this isn't the Bray Wyatt's lack of a gimmick isn't the problem. It's that he never wins any matches. So I've lost interest in this character, no matter how many times they make him look like the Joker who laughs. I don't give a fuck. But whatever. They're going with this Fiend thing. And they put him against Balor, who had the unfortunate incident of being called up to the main roster after an amazing run on NXT. Immediately injure himself, and Vince McMahon hasn't quite forgiven him for that. Apparently he's going away to marry someone. So he gets jobbed out in this one, which is fine. Here's the problem. After we see this fucking clown show Slipknot entrance from fucking The Fiend, as done by Code Orange, by the way, Jesse. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, Code Orange did like a cover of his theme music.
Okay.
They wrestle for a couple of minutes, and Bray Wyatt snaps Finn Balor's neck. Now, you might think that snapping a man's neck like John Wick would end the match. He doesn't even pin him, I think. I think at that point, Balor
didn't get a sling blade in yet.
Yeah, so Balor no-sells a fucking breaking of his own neck, hits a few moves.
There's no way to really sell it. I mean, you can't other than just pretend you're dead.
He should have snapped his neck, the lights go out, he disappears, and they fucking throw Finn Balor into the back of an ambulance. That should have been how that ends. Not snap his neck and keep wrestling.
Yeah.
And to Robert Winfrey, who, when I made that point on Twitter, was like, oh, WWE's done unbelievable stuff before. They didn't flat out murder a fucker in the middle of the ring. I don't think I'm wrong in saying maybe snapping a man's neck went just a bit too far. But,
oh my.
Maybe, I guess at that point what they should have also done is climb to the top of the ring and fall, and fucking fall it off through a table. I don't know. But Sheehan, am I wrong here? Was that not the world's stupidest thing?
That was a bit much, but I do love this new Bray Wyatt. I'm a big fan of this. I was a bit nervous when the Firefly Funhouse stuff started, but it won me over pretty quick. I feel like there's a lot of layers in subtext to that I know I'm too dense to understand. I think there's a lot of references to PTSD in there. I know he's doing like that butterfly hug thing every once in a while during it. I think there's a lot of nifty subtext in there that it'll never be plainly stated on television. But I just think it's a very, I don't want to say a smart gimmick, but it kind of is. I love the new theme song. I love the remix of the old Bray Wyatt song into whatever this is now. I thought that was really cool. The mask, I'm not a big fan of. I just think it's a little too ugly, and I actually heard that kids were afraid of it when it first showed up in the Firefly gimmick there. So I think maybe tone down the mask or just remove the mask and just do it as Bray Wyatt's face, or maybe paint his face or something. I don't know, but I was happy to see Bray finally win one. I'm glad to see the mandible claw back, and I'm not a huge Finn Balor fan, so if he's going away for a little while, that's fine by me.
I don't know. I have to see. I might catch on to the gimmick a little ways down the road when I actually see him win more than one squash match. He needs to go on a run and just murder bitches left and right.
Oh, for sure.
But I think, how many years into Bray Wyatt's run has this been, and he's got more losses than wins. He could have come out as anything, and I think I would have been negative on it. It's just like, yeah, but you've lost to everybody, so who cares? You know what I mean, Bailey?
Well, I think one thing we got going on here, we got the one. This is one of the big topics from SummerSlam when you see all the review sites was this gimmick change, and the big thing is that it's a gimmick. And guess what? We talk about gimmicks. So, WWE back in the day when they had the new generation and it went full on gimmicks, it wasn't a bad idea because I think that's a lot of why wrestling has gone down in the ratings a little bit was because it's just some guys in tights wrestling. You know what I mean? As good as the Revival are, they're guys in tights. And when you've got something like The Fiend come out, it's something that people talks about. It's your water cooler chat. So I think it's pretty damn cool. I'm like Sheehan. I dug the gimmick from day one. I love the Firefly Funhouse. I love the entire gimmick. I like the mandible claw, and I like that they did it with Balor because I think Balor just something about him that just gets in my craw. I can't explain it. He comes out, he was coming out in that stupid white leather jacket and the white trunks. I just wanted to see him die. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Finn Balor that I hate so much. I think it's the sling blade. I can't stand the sling blade. So anyway, you know what? This won me over. I'm all in when it comes to gimmicks. I'm all about it. I would load them up. Every single person on that roster, if I was writing, would have a stupid gimmick, and they'd be loving it.
All right, what'd you think of Papa Shango versus Finn Balor, Jesse?
Did somebody already bring up like the Fiend versus the Demon? Was that mentioned at all?
When I first brought it up, I said it was like the battle of the entrances.
Yeah,
It's true.
I want to take you guys into a different demographic. Okay, let's take a look at the 9-year-olds that were, like my son who was sitting there watching this with me.
The ones that should have been in bed by 11 o'clock at night.
Well, we weren't watching it at about that time. We just watched it right before I came down here. So Caleb was legitimately like, "What in the hell is going on here?" He was frightened. So, for a scary gimmick, it delivers. It delivers in a disturbing way. The Fiend delivers in a disturbing way. I found it kind of odd and out of place and kind of creepy. Caleb was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't understand the whole, Firefly Funhouse entrance, and then all of a sudden you got the Fiend, and he comes out with this mask, and Caleb was really upset and didn't understand the ending. He's like, "You can't stick your fingers down a man's mouth. This is stupid. No." I'm like, "Nope, he won. He won, son. That's the mandible claw." And he snapped his neck. He snapped his freaking neck. So yeah, it was. It's all right, buddy. I had to run upstairs and save my son. His bunk bed broke, and he was hanging off the edge. That's why I had to leave real quick.
Everything's all right, dude. Always an adventure.
Did you put that together, Starcher? Did you build that?
Now shut up. I'm not telling anybody that it was me that put that together. No, that thing snapped, dude. One of the corners snapped. So anyway, yeah, it was. Caleb was pretty scared of the Fiend, and he didn't like it too well. But yeah, the snapping of the neck was just like, okay. There are a couple moments in WWE history where the suspension of disbelief.
Was it when maple syrup fell out of the Ultimate Warrior's forehead?
Do you remember when Austin was it McMahon in the middle? I love you too, buddy. Had McMahon in the middle of the ring and then pulled a gun on him. And, like,
bang 316.
That was the best Raw ever. Shut up.
That's what it reminded me of. Like, oh my gosh, he's going to kill this guy in the middle of the ring. And then, of course, yeah, bang 316. So that's kind of like that, where it's. Are you actually trying to kill him, or am I supposed to believe that you're trying to kill him? Because obviously this is a show, and we gotta take fiction versus fact. Sometimes you're like, there's no freaking way you're going to try and make me believe that you just killed this man in the middle of the ring. But either way, I mean, it was okay. It was very short of a squash. But I'm curious as to how it's going to portray. You could tell, like, I like the way Bray deals with his character and how it almost is like he's fighting with himself in the ring. I like that part. I like how he's portrayed there. So I'm on board. I'm on board for the Fiend.
All right, you guys convinced me. You're right. I'm not a 9-year-old child. If my children are 8 and 5, had they seen the Fiend, even they would have questioned breaking a man's neck in the ring. But the entrance, they would have. I guarantee you that both my kids would have fled the room like Jacob. So
imagine Jonas going like, they killed him.
Those 9-year-old kids, though, you don't want them to try to do some of these moves in the house here with the broken neck.
Let me show you what I saw in SummerSlam last night. Oh God!
Don't worry, you'll be able to do a sling blade after this.
Wish you guys could see my two sons sitting here wrestling sometimes, and there are a bunch of fake neck breaks actually happening. And I don't know if that's, and they've never watched Bray Wyatt until today. So I don't know.
You know what? Unlike your Volbeat argument that everything sounds like a choo-choo train or whatever it was you were trying to tell me. Chug. You know what, Jesse? On this one, you convinced me. You all convinced me. I will do an unraddledge thing. I will relent and say, you're right. This thing, it scares children. It's different. It's gimmicky. It's fine. Whatever. Seth Rollins defeated Brock Lesnar. He got his belt back from the Money in the Bank cash-in. It was fine. SummerSlam usually ends with like the heels winning or the crowd going home ready to burn whatever city they're in down. This one was I don't know where they're going with Brock Lesnar, what they're going to do with him next. What other celebrity can they bring in to feed to him? But the good guy won. He got his belt back. The big bully was defeated. 4 more years for Trump. I don't know what to say. Sheehan.
That took a turn.
Talk about scary. This match. What was the point of putting the belt on Brock? I mean, just to have Seth beat him again. Like, what, a month later? Like, there was no point to this at all. And all this might just be me letting my mind wander here, but it's like they want to get Seth and Roman to the point where they're like, okay, the 15-time champions. And I know I've tugged at that thread throughout the night here, but it just feels like we're artificially inflating reigns, and literally and figuratively, I suppose. But just too many damn title changes. I don't know what the point of this was. They could have had Brock cash in tonight and announce it and have Seth beat him. There was no reason to change the belt before, and there's that law of diminishing returns. It's like, well, if you keep beating Brock, then who's going to care when Brock gets beat again?
I will say this: they told a nice story. He was injured. This was the Diamond Dallas Page bit where his ribs were taped up for about 10 years. I think there was another one. I might actually be thinking of a different presentation of a similar thing where somebody had. Oh, this is the cast on the arm of Bob Orton, which
Cowboy Bob, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, where he had hurt ribs. He'd been beaten up going all the way into it. This was very much the battle from underneath babyface routine that the WWE does very well, and when it works, it sends the crowd home happy. And and like I said, they did it well. The crowd was relieved and happy and satisfied. So I really don't have any complaints about it other than please don't do this anymore. Like, I feel like that's the theme of the weekend. Whether it's falling off tables, too long feuds, or bleeding your entire blood out of your body, please, this entire weekend can be summed up with just stop doing all those things. Stop. Move on. Yeah, yes. Move along. Bailey, what did you think of Rollins, Brock Lesnar?
Well, I think they were trying to stretch this show out because clearly they cut this one short. I mean, this one ended at 12 a.m. here. Normally it goes till 12:30, so I guess that's God knows what time for you guys. But
it was 10:30, and I got a decent night's sleep for once after one of these.
That's what I mean. I was at a friend's house. I was all excited. I was geared up to go till like 1:30 in the morning. I was like, yeah, come on, bring it. And then all of a sudden, this match started at like 11:30, and I'm like, wait a second. They're not going to give this match a full hour. Or I thought they were going to pull a Roman Reigns thing at the end and reveal his killer or have him killed again or something. I don't know what was going on. But I think if they could, they're so in love with this whole storyline with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch that I'm surprised that they didn't make this a mixed tag for both belts on the line and have Brock Lesnar and Natalya take on Seth Rollins and Becky and just have Seth Rollins give the curb stomp to Lesnar and have the other girl tap Natalya out in Canada. I think that was the original plan for this, but they cut this thing short. And I guarantee you, I actually missed my half hour. I'm like, geez, I felt cheated at the end of this match. I'm like, where's my extra half hour? And I mean, normally I'm complaining that this went on for 6 to 7 hours and, my God, I couldn't sleep. And now I wanted my half hour back. I'm only paying $7 of those fuckers this month. I'm telling you. There you go.
Go ahead, Jesse.
We're a wishy-washy bunch then. My goodness. You got to think we have that Bailey Ember Moon match in here that just felt like complete filler. Imagine if that would have been taken out. This would have been... Maybe there just wasn't enough grist for the bill for this particular pay-per-view. I don't know. But as for the match itself, I was so hoping like, hey, holy shit, Rollins knows how to defeat the Suplex City. All he has to do is just backflip out of it every time. He's just going to keep doing that. Oh, nope.
Oh, yeah, that was overdone, man. That was overdone.
He did it twice, and now, okay. So... my son, again, my 9-year-old was invested in this one. He hates Brock Lesnar. Oh, he hates Brock Lesnar. And I'll tell you a funny story. So in the middle of the match, I mentioned, I think Brock goes for like a somewhat of a spear on Rollins in the corner, and Rollins gets out of the way. Brock hits the post. Well, I told Caleb, oh man, you missed it. And he's like, hold on a second. He grabs the controller and hits rewind. What he ends up doing is fast forwarding to 15 seconds left in the damn pay-per-view, and he shows up and there's Rollins holding the belt. I'm like, he goes, oh no, I know who wins. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what happened. So anyway, we figured out who won before we even watched the whole match. I mean, this was okay. You know, it had its stuff we've seen over and over and over. Suplex City. All right, here we go. Hey, everybody, let's sing along with Paul Heyman. All right, here we go. So it was a lot of things that had come before. I can't complain about the outcome. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately, I am not a big Brock Lesnar fan either. I think that he has overstayed his welcome, in my opinion. That time where you guys were lighting up about it, when he was like, he could give a shit less Brock Lesnar. I thought that was probably one of the most interesting things that he had done. Did they completely abandon that?
Yes.
Oh, why? I mean,
because he got the title back.
Okay, so he's like, oh, okay, well, now I could give it, whatever.
Yeah, and they can't play around with him going back to UFC now since then I think he officially retired from mixed martial arts, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So they can't kind of play like, oh well, who's his allegiance with? Is he going to stay here? Is he going to go there? And I think that kind of killed that little gimmick.
I honestly think he just uses the UFC to get more money out of the.
Oh, it's a bargaining chip for sure.
So real quick, guys, I'm going to throw this out there because it's something I've been thinking about, and then I'm going to let Chris Bailey do his plugs, and the rest of us do our plugs, and we'll get out of here. But if you think about sort of the line of ascension, you had the Austin Rock era, was followed by the Guerrero, Benoit, Angle era. Then you had John Cena, Randy Orton, with a little bit of Brock before that, and now this has been the era of the Shield guys. Roman, Seth, and John Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose. I think we're due for a new era, don't you think? Whether it works or not is sort of irrelevant to me. But I do feel like the guys at the top of the card, I think the Shield are done. I feel like we've sort of milked that udder for all it's worth. We've bled that stone. I just like, can we now move on from the Shield guys? Can we get some new people at the top? You know what I mean? What do you think, Sheehan?
I think it's time for Cesaro to take his rightful place.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
We
and with Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, Cesaro, and we'll throw AJ in there too. And then we could bring Johnny Gargano up to get thrown through things, and we'll be just a new boom period.
What superhero suit will he wear next?
Oh, boy. Which one won't he wear?
Squirrel Girl.
Evan Bevins would watch.
Yes, he would.
But I agree, though, that it is. I mean, the Shield have been around since 2012. Or, we're going on near a decade. It feels like they just this whole era just started, but it's been going a long time. And
there has been a guy from the Shield in the main event of WrestleMania pretty much almost every year since WrestleMania 31.
Since they hit, yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's time to. It's time to move people up the card, and that's the problem they have. The ones that they're so hell-bent on moving up the card are guys like Baron Corbin. It's like okay, give me 4 more years of Trump and 5 more years of Reigns, and instead of Baron Corbin. But
I would have killed for some Baron Corbin on this show.
Well, he might be our King of the Ring next week, so
I hope. I'm all in for King Corbin.
King Cesaro. King of Swing.
Yes.
King Suede.
All right, so overall, like I said, SummerSlam was meh. It was fine. Other than the neck snapping thing, which I thought was just the world's worst thing. It was like Goldberg, Ziggler, the world's best thing. The fucking neck snapping, the worst thing. And so they balanced themselves out, and it was a zero-sum fucking event. Bugs versus Daffy at NXT Toronto. Please stop. and someone tell the Briscoes they're gonna die if they keep this up. No more wrestling the Gorillas of Destiny. All right, Chris Bailey, your last words and your plugs, and then you're excused, sir.
You know what? It was a good weekend of wrestling. That's how I'll put it. I don't think there was anything outstanding. I don't think there's anything particularly memorable. I think there's a lot of stuff we'd like to forget. I think Trish Stratus is still looking for her Canadian pop somewhere here in Canada. I don't know what happened to that. I'm interested to see who gets pulled from NXT to come up to the main roster. Baron Corbin. Oh, and by the way, Sasha Banks. She's back. Right after this show. I was surprised she didn't show up on this one, to be quite honest with you. I thought that was the whole purpose for that Bayley match to even exist on this card was for the Sasha Banks appearance, but it didn't happen. But it was a good weekend of wrestling. That's how I'll put it.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
You want me to roll into plugs? Or?
Yeah. Quick, do your plugs.
Okay, cool. So you can find me on the Twitter machine at Charlton_hero. You can also find me on my blog at The Superhero Satellite for all my retro ramblings. And, of course, actually, there's one thing I would like to actually talk about a little bit outside of my own stuff. So I actually read a comic book today about wrestling. It's called Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia, and it's from Suspicious Behavior Group. And they are a new group doing a wrestling comic book, and it's basically about a disgruntled wrestler who declares himself the galactic champion of the universe, and a planet of alien wrestlers views it as an act of war and takes him up on his challenge. So it's actually pretty good. I've got the first couple issues here, and I think folks should check it out. There you go.
Very good.
That's me. I'm done jibber jabbering, and the only thing that I would like to plug before I go is Podcoin, the podcast that pays. It's a dream as old as time. Get paid for exactly what you do, normally with no effort whatsoever. Podcoin aims to make that a reality. User can get cash via gift cards, outlets like Amazon, Starbucks, and use their earnings to make charitable donations. That's Podcoin, the podcast that pays. There you go. I'm out.
Fantastic.
Wow, smooth as butter.
I get paid for that, folks. I get paid for that. Mark me.
All right. Speaking of
Take
butter,
care, guys.
Have a later, man.
See you, buddy. Speaking of butter, Sheehan, go.
Oh, this won't be smooth at all. I always fumble my my. What am I doing now? What is this thing that I'm doing?
You're doing.
Where I say where I do things.
Last words and plugs, sir.
That's the thing. Yes, I will echo Bailey's last words. This was a good weekend of wrestling. I don't regret watching what I watched, so that's always a plus. Now you can find me over at chrisandreggie.com. That's where our shows are, where you can hear my fumbling, rumbling, bumbling voice. I also have a website, chrisisoninfiniteearths.com, where I look at a different DC book every single day of the week, and have been doing so for over 3.5 years at this point. You can find me on Twitter at Ace Comics, and I think that's about it.
FYI, speaking of things you should look at, I don't know if you've ever covered any of Hush before, but the animated movie came out today.
I don't do those.
Okay.
Remember. Oh boy, Sheehan and he has no TV, no movies, just the classics and the comics.
All right.
It's true.
Well, while we were yammering about wrestling, Robert Winfrey, Lexus Hana, and Jason Teasley, the prodigal son, they did a Damn You Hollywood for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Yesterday, myself, Jesse Starcher, and Pat Mullen did a live source material Damn You Hollywood split 7-inch for The Kitchen. We talked about the book, we talked about the movie, and Pat brought up the actual Irish Mafia. So, tune in for all the inappropriateness that was that podcast.
Oh, man.
Tomorrow, TMC's kid knocked his fucking mic off the desk, so he won't be joining us for Slipknot. But Jesse will, and we will be talking We Are Not Your Kind. You'll also hear the show that was supposed to be last Thursday, but Sean had some personal issues. Take a drink. So we're going to be doing Orange is the New Black, the final season on TV Party. And then we'll be doing another one. I will be the sugary cream filling in a Sean Oreo. Sean Comer will be joining me to talk Glow Season 3. You just heard Chris Bailey. He forgot to mention the Superblog team-up. Well, the Radulich and Broadcasting official contribution will be to watch Jupiter Ascending. And that will probably be our first current entry on Patreon. Jesse, what do you think about that?
Oh, spectacular.
Yes. The Radulich and Broadcasting Network is now on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/Radulich. That's Radulich. for exclusive content. Yes, we're going to make you pay for some of this now. How about that? I have medical bills. No, I'm just kidding. But, it was told to me that someone might actually pay for this nonsense, so we're going to put some of it up on Patreon for you. So you'll be able to hear a Jupiter Ascending watch-along for the Superblog team-up right up there on Patreon. What do you think, Jesse? You okay with that?
No idea what I'm getting into.
Terrific. Those, I believe, my wife's and I's vows to each other when we got married. Speaking of which, David Wright, from our Canadian office, our ever-growing Canadian office, will be joining me for a TV party for Lost in Space Season 1. And then that night, Robert Winfrey will attempt to split his mind and his time between written coverage for Cormier versus Miocic 2 for 401mania.com and audio coverage with me right here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. It'll be a shit show, and we'll never do it again.
Doomed to fail.
Alan Moore was on the recent episode of Source Material.
Oh, jeez. Boy, was he not.
As he, Jesse, Chris Bailey, and I talk Saga of the Swamp Thing Volume 1 by Alan Moore. Jesse and I will talk the Swamp Thing DC Universe series. We'll review Lyada's Murder, Human Target. Sean and I will do an on-trail for Swamp Thing 1982. And then Jesse and I will do a TV party for Good Omens with Al motherfucking Sedano.
Right.
And then on the 24th, Robert Winfrey, I twisted his arm and his nipples, and he will be covering boxing with me, Sergey Kovalev versus Anthony Yard over there in Russia for the WBO light heavyweight title on ESPN+. And then we've got Screaming Boy, we've got DC First, Krypton, Rage of Light, Legacy, Banana Splits, and NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Jesse, take me home, baby doll.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your reminder to always check the weight limit of the bunk beds you have your own children sleeping on. Do that. Save a life. You know, I'm glad it broke at 11 o'clock and not like 3 o'clock in the morning, to which my 5-year-old would have been squished. And then my son would have woke up like, where did my brother go?
Why am I on the floor? Where are my pants? We need to do like a Tool Time Dad podcast with you.
Well, no. More power. All right, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, go give the Radulich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. Mark just ran them down there. He talked about wrestling. He talked about movies. He talked about TV. He talked about music. I mean, there's all sorts of great content. So check that out. We look forward to entertaining you and offending you in the future. Mark Radulich, take us out of here.
All right, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our inane yammering about wrestling. Be well, be safe, and behave.